Love.
Hello. Hello to all. Thank you so very much for tuning in. This would be considered episode 26 of the High Vibe Human Experience Hangout. And my guest today, it's actually our fifth episode together. So I'm really excited. We have Amie Chilson of Adventures with Amie, and she just returned from her Camino de Santiago, and where she did a month-long walk, her pilgrimage, and we're going to talk all about the trials and tribulations, the lessons learned, the hero's journey, everything that had to do with that. And I'm super excited. I've been following her journey and I notice a few recurring lessons. So I think we'll go over those. But more than anything, hi, Amie. How are you?
Hi,
Nice to see you.
nice to be back in the United States. Thanks for having me on again. So number 5,
Absolute
lucky number 5.
number five. I know. I know. I wore fuchsia for you.
You look great. That's a great color for you. Beautiful.
Thank you. Well, yeah, our last one was our Guardians Part 2,
Mhm.
where we talked about the Starseed children and how we can be guardians of them. And so, this is your wheelhouse. You are an adventurer, you're a globetrotter. I mean, this is your brand. And first I want to start off with what made you, because this was a quick, like, you know what, I'm going. You did a sudden pivot. And if you want to talk about what drove you to do that, or how quick was that to go from I'm going to go till you're there.
Right. Well, I'm glad you started that way because there was a catalyst that got me back into Spain after 5 years of being off the Camino. This is my 7th pilgrimage that I took just now. So clearly, I like being a pilgrim and I like walking across Spain. And I will tell you more about why I love it so much, including the misadventures that come with. But what really drove me to hop on a plane, I had 5 days of preparation, which is not very much, Heidi. 5 days to prepare. And we still had snow here in Wisconsin. I was in snow boots. So then going straight
Oh
to
no.
Spain to walk in flip flops, 16, 18, 20 miles a day. And so what inspired me to make this flash decision and go walk another pilgrimage is I had some heartbreak. So it has to do with a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Guy and yeah, and our plans together and it's some shocking things that occurred that were very saddening and hurtful for me in the moment. And my heart said, I have one remarkable thing is I've never closed my heart during this whole experience. It's always been expanding and open. And I thought, I want to continue that thread of
Mhm.
expansion. And so for me, I like to be light as a feather, squeaky clean. I don't like to hold on to anything negative or resentment. I know you're the same way. We're both very keen on releasing and forgiving immediately as possible. So I thought, I'm going to just go walk another pilgrimage. I'm going to walk it out. It'll be my therapy. And I'll get out there and I'll be in nature every day. It'll be beautiful, soulful time, solitude. And I'll just go out there and I'll release this hurt, this burden, and I'll let it go and I'll have another adventure in Spain.
Beautiful. And you did. Why the choice of flip-flops?
Uh, and I
Because
can
that's your thing. That's your other thing. That's your thing.
a lot. The fast answer to that is since I lived in Bali, Indonesia, and Southeast Asia, I was barefoot a lot of the time, and my feet expanded and became wider, larger, and I really enjoy barefoot lifestyle. Even here in Wisconsin, as long as it's not too cold, I prefer to go everywhere, and that means to the store, out in business, driving, everything to do grounding barefoot. And when my feet started expanding and really enjoying the sensation of being, without shoes, um, I would attempt to put shoes on the Camino before, and I would get blisters right away. I have migrating toes, so I just say that my feet don't like shoes.
I love that.
And
And
then
it has to be said too, you're not just getting like $5 pair of flip-flops from Walmart. I mean, I'm sure you have like really supportive cushioning,
they're the
like
best. They're like
trekking.
$50 flip flops, and they're the best I found in the world. And
Mhm.
they are highly supportive. They're comfortable. They let the feet breathe, and you don't get as many blisters or problems. Now, with flip-flops come some of their own challenges, which is one of the misadventures I experienced on this pilgrimage. It's all fun and games if it's nice weather and easy terrain, and
Mhm.
that was not this experience on the Camino. Now, there are many different routes throughout Spain for people who are not familiar with the Camino de Santiago. Pilgrims from throughout Europe and beyond have walked this pilgrimage, a sacred, soulful pilgrimage, usually of redemption. It's a religious rite of passage, if you will, to Santiago de
Mhm.
Compostela, the Cathedral of St. James. So people go for a miracle, for redemption. Some people go because they feel like they need to be forgiven and release their own burdens. But for thousands of years, pilgrims have walked this, and there's many different routes. And this, I have walked from France, from Portugal, and so there's easier routes than the one that I chose this time, which was the northern route, and it was raining and it was getting down
Oh,
to the low 30s,
yeah.
torrential rain. There was snow in certain places. The terrain was really rough, Heidi. Um, really steep inclines and declines, and then jumping in from snow boots to walking maybe a couple miles a day straight into, a 20-pound pack on my back, which I needed everything in there. I couldn't
Yep,
get
yep.
it out. And then, these long distances, 16, 18, 20 miles with rough terrain and cold weather and rain. So I really took it up a notch, took up the ante on challenge levels by
Yeah, you did.
to do this. And I got pretty beat up out there.
Oh, you did. And you got bit. A
Oh,
spider
yeah.
bite, right?
Misadventures with the animal kingdom. And, I'm a daughter of a biologist, so I love animals. I love insects. I was raised respecting them.
Mhm.
And for some reason, around the world, not just in Spain, but in Asia too, and Africa, I have received some of the worst stings and bites.
Oh.
Spiders, a centipede, a poisonous centipede. And so this time I traded in the six times pilgrimage before. I got bed bug bites every single time, which is normal for
Oh
pilgrims. But
gosh,
this
those are
time
the worst.
I didn't get any bed bugs,
Good.
thank God. But I did wake up with a poisonous spider bite on my eye, and I couldn't even see out my eye. So I had
Oh
to
gosh.
get up, figure out what's what, get a bus, walk to a bus, go to a town where there was a pharmacy open and get cream for this spider bite eye. And there's a whole video on that misadventure. But um, it's part of it. I
Yeah.
expect there's gonna be some like challenges and trials, but also some outrageous things that happen, and they do. And because I just know it's part of the overall journey, it's not like I'm willing it or manifesting it in. I know that very interesting things are going to happen when you're out there, and so life
Mhm.
is certainly not dull. It is just absolutely vibrant, and that comes with its own challenges, Heidi.
Yeah, you have to stay in the moment, right? I mean, it's survival, really, but you have to protect yourself and staying in the moment. I'm sure that situation, that love, that hurt, probably you're like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot about that."
Oh, day one, that burden
Yeah.
was just dropped on day 1. I let it go. It was just wonderfully remarkable how fast I let it go.
Mhm.
And
Good. Mhm.
and part of it I know was the fact that I was hyper focused on survival of the day and
Yeah.
being very present with other pilgrims and new relationships I was creating and enjoying Mother Nature because frankly it's one of the most beautiful routes I've ever walked. If somebody wants to become a pilgrim and know what that's like, the northern route is up on the Bay of Biscay, starting
Mhm.
from France and then going up and then coming down finally. So it's very mountainous. You have the view of the sea, and it is just so beautiful. So I would say between that and just surviving the day, you literally are hyper focused on because the northern route has less resources. So
Mhm.
since the pandemic, they have less albergues open. Albergue is like a hostel for a pilgrim.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
and so there's less places for you to sleep at night, and there's
Oh.
less food. You're constantly looking for food. And it just
Oh.
sounds like such a simple thing, right? We don't have to think about these things, you and I here, getting our clothes washed, finding food where we're gonna sleep, but there on the Camino, it's tough. It's challenging.
Yeah.
So every day, You are, I mean, what we would consider normally like not a problem, not even a thought, a care in our mind, is over dramatized there. You know,
Oh my gosh. Well,
oh,
yeah, you
gotta
can't
find
keep
good.
mhm. You can't carry a couple weeks of food on your back,
Right.
you
And
know?
then in Spain, for those of you who've been to Spain or just know the culture, there's a lot of fiestas, a lot of religious holidays, siesta every day. Sundays, things are closed. Monday, things are closed. So for me, it was always this rush to try to find a bed, find some food, get to a bank that's open or a working ATM. And I got down to like my last 20 euro because every town I would go to, it was closed for the day or broken. So you think about these things. One day on a prior Camino, my first one, I had to literally pick fruit along the way to feed myself that day, and it was a long, it's like I don't know, 13 to 15 kilometers or 18-kilometer day. No, even longer than that. Actually, I think it was like 27. And I was picking fruit because I didn't have any money until I got to the town, and finally I found an ATM that was open and working.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well,
we have so many resources here in the Western world. Think about this. You go into a grocery store, Heidi, and you are overwhelmed by all the options that you have.
yep,
I mean,
yep.
people have something here called decision fatigue. They just can't even make up their mind because there's so many things to watch on TV and to buy in the store. And on the Camino, when you're out in some, you know, remote village with a population of 12, which I've been to, and your choices are A or A. You have to roll with it. You have to flow with, and I would say that's probably one of the big sub themes that I have learned on the Camino and throughout my travels in the world is that there's not a lot of options. So you are extremely grateful just to be able to find a bed, to find a
Yeah.
pharmacy, to have some food that you don't even like, but you're happy to put food in your belly. And so gratitude, flowing with, being able to be rapidly adaptable to an ever changing situation. Wow. I mean, think about that application to regular life.
Mhm. Well, and you brought up a something super important is the humanity. I saw one of the clips where it was a pleasure to offer someone who's hungry some of your food, and you even though you traveled in solitude most of the time, you did run into other people. Share some of those experiences, like, what was that like? Just the humanity of others, whether they're in the town, because I remember hearing about the story of the woman that didn't dry your friend's clothes all the way, and then she was mad that the lady was trying to dry them. Like, you probably get all kinds of humanity, but, I mean, you're basically at their you're looking for everyone's best. You want everyone to be digging in their heart deeply. Did you find that more often than not?
That is a great question. And yes, so as a peregrino, a pilgrim,
Mhm.
Um, in general, I will say a high percentage. Most people from all over the world that come to walk the Camino, they are in an expanded open heart space. And a big portion of that has to do with our commiseration and suffering because everyone's suffering. They're suffering physically for sure. And everybody asks, how are your blisters? How are your aches and pains? Your Achilles tendon or what's going on with your tendonitis. And so people are very focused on helping each other through our pain because you are going to be in pain.
Mm.
In fact, I have not seen a pilgrim, even a luxury pilgrim, that's somebody that does the high class, easier version, right? But I have not seen a pilgrim that doesn't suffer somehow, and emotional suffering as well, because people go out there for their own reasons. Now, some people go out there like myself because it's a vacation and it's fun, and they like the filmmaking and the hero's journey and all of that. Not only do I go out there for fun, I like to get ideas. It's great for brainstorming. But some people, some pilgrims will, and they'll share this with you. Most people are quite open hearted and vulnerable pretty quickly into the journey, is that they're working through something. Either
Mhm.
they had a death in the family, and I have seen, like the movie The Way, someone's carrying the ashes of their deceased loved one and sprinkling them along the way in a meaningful,
Oh, wow.
experience to honor that loved one. So they're in loss, they're in grief. I see a lot of pilgrims out there that are going through a divorce or breakup. Like I have gone through the breakup, or they're about to. So they're preparing for this big decision and shift in their life. A lot of pilgrims going through existential crisis, you know, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis. They're figuring things out. I want to leave my job or do something different. So they're deep into their own emotional processes. And you can see them walking through it, walking, working through whatever it is. And so people are out there for their own reason. And a lot of people are in that mode of forgiving and letting go. And so sometimes you can just immediately tell, okay, that person needs to be by themselves. Some pilgrims will start talking to you and you just immediately start crying and open up their heart, want to tell you their life story. Heidi, I've had people come up to me and be like, sit down at the cafe with me. Oh, I like what you're eating. So I'm going to order what you're eating. I'm going to eat what you're going to eat. And then I'm going to sit here for the next few hours and tell you my life story. And you're like, okay.
Oh gosh.
That's how people are, and then because of, this heightened heart space opening, and the heart is open, people are feeling vulnerable. Usually, most pilgrims are very caring and loving, and they want to hear what you have to share. We get past, like, what we would talk about in, like, a networking meeting here in business or out and at a party or at a bar, superficial things, right? What do you do? How much money do you make? What kind of car do
Yeah.
you drive?
How
These
about the Super Bowl?
how many followers do you have on, and out there, there's none of that. I mean, we go
Awesome.
straight to the meat, to the heart. Who are you? Why are you here? What are you looking to achieve while you're walking? And
Mm.
people will share. And so when you asked just recently about the running out of food story, that is a great story, and I did share that in one of my videos. So what I experienced is in this route, the northern route, there was less food everywhere, less towns open, less food, and so you're constantly having to think about trying to pack in more food with you, which increases the bag weight, which increases the pain.
Ah,
So it's this, balance that you have to find, but you never want to be caught without food. And what happened was I ended up staying in this, it wasn't even a village, it was just an old church with an old rectory next to it. There was nothing around, nothing to buy. Inside this old rectory, which had gathered by the end of the night at least 25 pilgrims, they had two vending machines which were broken, so you couldn't even get food. And the
oh,
Wi-Fi was broken, so you couldn't even like you couldn't, order something in so you're just completely isolated in this remote rectory with no food. And I remember there were some pilgrims that I'd met on day one that were coming in late, and everyone just shared what food they had brought with them. And I
mm,
remember looking at this table and having my heart was smiling at the situation because I could tell some of these things that we had to share amongst each other, the pilgrims, is not really what they wanted to eat at the end of the day. But they were so happy, Heidi, so grateful that they had something to put in their belly at the end of the day.
mm.
And I saw this and I was like, this is how everyone in life should operate, not just pilgrims, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's special. That was sweet. Something that resonated deeply with me watching your journey was patience. The practice of patience, because I feel like I've been going through that a lot lately with being in the classroom. But maybe you can share some of those experiences where you were really tested about your patience.
Oh my
Wasn't there a klepto?
That was probably one of the biggest sub themes that I experienced on this journey. And as a pilgrim, you don't have to. You will
Mm,
suffer a lot more if you don't learn to practice patience.
okay.
Because what happens is you're always waiting in line to get a bed, to get some food, waiting in line to do something, to use the toilet, to use a shower, to use the stove, like all these basic things in normal day life we don't even think about, right? But they're because all the pilgrims are on top of each other usually. You're in bunk beds, and sometimes the bunk beds are pushed together. So you're in a bed, maybe with bed bugs, and there's no space between you and the stinking, snoring pilgrim that you've never met. and you're right next to each other.
Oh my gosh.
With the coughing, and then there's a lot of sick pilgrims on this route because they even I met a gal that I walked with who got hypothermia, lost in the woods. She had to get picked up by La Guardia Civil. Like, it was beat up pilgrims, sick pilgrims, so you're stuck in these tiny little rooms with all these people that you don't know that are stinky and snoring and waking up at, 3 in the morning making noise. And so unless you're gonna go try to find a hotel room, which sometimes there's not even a hotel, you have one option. That's it. That's where you're gonna stay, Heidi. So can you imagine staying in a room? You've got 50 bunk beds in there. Everyone's stinky, snoring. There's no like fresh oxygen molecules in the room because there's no ventilation. So you're forced, if you choose to take on the lesson of patience, to practice it.
Mm.
And that includes irritants and annoyances, like the story of my friend not getting her clothes dried that she paid for. I mean, things like that, having, damp clothes so that your clothes in your backpack are now moldy. I've had my bags of food stolen out of the fridge by pilgrims before.
Man.
And I've had a few things stolen. So, patience there, being able to forgive and be resourceful and move on. But patience really came up this time. And I remember there was this one pilgrim that I met on the torrential rain day, the day my friend got hypothermia. I actually called my bag service because I got lost. I got lost off the Camino. Torrential rain in the low 30s, so close to freezing, in flip flops. So resourcefulness was another theme. You have to be, think on your feet. I called my bag service because I had sent my bag ahead that day. And sorry if you can hear my cat. He wants to get
No,
in.
no. I couldn't no. It's all
Anyway,
good.
so he came and picked me up. And so you get these nice little stories in between all the misadventures, like, the torrential rain, getting really cold, hypothermia. I've almost gotten hypothermia out on the Camino before too. Got to get your core temperature up. But then, one of my closest friends I met on the Camino was this girl from Germany. She had a local lady, see her just standing there freezing in the pouring rain. And the lady came by and said, "Get in my car, come, come." She's like, "Okay." So she got in the car and went to this lady's house. The lady took her to her family, and for 3 hours they fed her beautiful food, warm food, they home cooked meal, and talked to her, and then took her to her hostel.
Aw,
Great
I
story.
love that.
And then I
Yes.
got picked up by, my bag guy, and he's like,
Uh,
"Okay, let's get you," like, and then so all these like there's a balance. There's the misadventures and all these like beautiful stories too. There was this one pilgrim that I really did not like, and I had to focus my level of patience. And I don't know if I won the test on this one, Heidi. It's just this pilgrim from Germany that was very lacked self-awareness, very greedy, selfish,
oh.
abrasive, wanted to pick fights with everybody, argumentative, takes over the whole room, snores, and I was like, I'm gonna avoid that guy. And you think like, Amy, this is just drama with pilgrims, but regular life still happens on the Camino. Like
Mhm,
regular life is still occurring. And then it's just even more heightened and
mhm.
dramatized because the spotlight's on the suffering.
Yeah.
And so the back to your patience, the sub theme of patience that people, if you get out there, can you imagine having all of your triggers being, coming up from other stinky, snory, unaware, selfish pilgrims and being tired all the time and constantly hungry and your body hurts and you're tired and so you get triggered and
Oh, I
it's
bet.
you're if you want to win the day of, being patient, being the patient pilgrim and generous and forgiving, it really takes mindfulness and presence to slow down. And that pilgrim I told you about that I wanted to avoid, he came and found me in another place. And he demanded that I give him the lower bunk because he was bigger. And I was thinking, like, no,
Oh,
nobody wants the top bunk because, you
yeah.
fall off, your feet hurt. And then the next morning, I had carefully gone to the store, the only store in this tiny little village, in its operating hours, and bought all this glorious food for my long walk the next day. I saw him leave, and then I went to the fridge and saw that this bag of food was
Oh
gone.
my
And
gosh.
I was just, oh, I knew it was him. I knew it. I wanted to blame him. And I was so mad. And that was a spider bite morning on top of it.
Oh
And so I was like, come on, universe, please, no more tests, no more misadventures. I think I've had my fill today. Well, anyway, as the story goes, I walked, I think it was a kilometer to find a bus stop with my one eye that was working that I could see out of, and then got to another town. Finally, found a pharmacy, got the cream for the spider bite, and as I was digging through my backpack, way at the bottom, I realized 3 bags in. Oh, here's my bag of food. So the guy
that's
didn't
right.
steal it, and I was like,
But
oh.
you first were like, "It's him."
Yeah, I wanted to blame him, and I actually in my video, I was very honest and vulnerable, and I said, like, "I wanted to be mad at this guy, and,
Mhm,
this is like some faith restored." It did turn out at the end of the day, I did have food stolen a couple times, but,
mhm.
it comes down to, Heidi, how do you wanna respond? And do I wanna be mad about this? No. Do I have to go buy more food? Yes. It's the same thing in life. We could apply it to your normal work day, your coworkers or kids, or maybe someone annoying like your neighbor, whatever the case may be, someone on social media that's bothering you. I had a lot of
Mhm.
haters out there, a lot of haters.
Aw. Yeah, the best of us do, Amy, the best of us do.
You do too, and you are being your best self. You're showing up vulnerably, you as loving and in your heart space as you can, and I love that about you. That's something that
Mhm.
we have in common. That even when we do get the haters, and they can be pretty mean, it doesn't mean we have to stop being who we are and
Exactly.
shining our light out there.
Right. Amen. Didn't, someone recognized you on the Camino?
Oh
Didn't
yeah,
they yeah, that's pretty cool.
the story behind that one actually. She just sent me a message on Facebook.
A book of faces uniting us globally.
It was such a weird experience because it started happening on my last Camino that I walked in
Mhm,
2019. I was starting to get recognized 3 times a day just by people around, and they were, like, hugging, pictures, and I'm like, "This is such an interesting feeling," because of the videos that I have put out there. As you know, I like to document my day and
mhm,
share vicariously with as many people as possible what happens, like the nuances of a day to be a pilgrim on the Camino. And it's a lot of work to capture that while I'm still surviving the day. And at
mm,
the end, every day, edit and get a video up. But I love that. I love because how are you going to remember every special thing that happened and that you experience and the misadventures and the food and the animals and the other pilgrims, right? So it's for me, it's a joy and an honor to be able to shoot something and edit it and get it up that day. So she had seen this lady had seen, I met her on a bus stop. We're taking a bus from the end of the world back to Santiago, and she was standing there with crutches to get on the bus. And she's like, Amy. And I said, yeah. How do you know? And she said, well, I've been following your journey. I watched all your videos. And I just knew it was you. She's like, I saw the fedora hat I was like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, we ended up sitting close to each other on the bus, and she had injured herself fairly early on in her Camino. So she was going home, sadly, to the United States early. And she didn't know how to get her bag to the taxi stop or even where it was in Santiago. And I know the city very well. So I helped her. I took her bag out there for her, found her the taxi, and we had a nice little chat. But it was a cool experience because the Camino provides. That's a saying that we have amongst pilgrims, meaning you're gonna get what you need from the Camino, whether you like it or not. And that
mm,
could be a lesson, a misadventure, someone that you're supposed to meet, whether it's a hard lesson or just like a beautiful friendship, or even you meet someone and it's just a one-time interaction. I had the opportunity to be, yeah, the good Samaritan for her that moment and help her. That I've had so many people help me on the Camino, locals. Sometimes I've had to hitchhike a few times on the Camino, um, people that bring you food, people that bring you help, if you're lost, that direct you, even just like having some of the most amazing new friendships that you create with other pilgrims, being able to work together and create alliances and help each other. That's a
Hmm.
very big theme on the Camino. So the Camino provides just trusting that whatever transpires, whoever shows up on my journey as a player in my hero's journey storyline is meant to be here, even the ones that I'm not so fond of.
Even that fella. And here he is talked about again. Yeah. What is that bag service? Is that can you explain that a little? Because I know you walked with your bag, but then you have the opportunity to ship it ahead if you need the relief. Is that how it works? And
So
how
the ancient pilgrim, thousands of years ago, had to walk through forced suffering, and it
okay.
was expected, part of their redemption journey, if you will. They wore the same rag clothing, very little belongings with them. They would have to, find food along the way. The nuns, the priests, the monks, giving them a piece of floor to sleep on. Like they really suffered. We, as modern day pilgrims, can choose for more resources. And so, my first journey of 40 days from France all across Spain, when I first did the Camino, I carried my backpack the whole way. And I
Wow.
usually do.
Uh-huh.
However, this time, because my feet were so virgin to these long distances and really rough terrain and incline, decline weather, all of it, um, I should have sent my bag ahead every day because it makes a world of difference. They have these courier services that you pay anywhere from 8 to 10 euro per day, and
Mhm.
you call them or text them and say, "Here's where my bag is. Here's where I want to go." Leave money for them, and boom, when you show up, there it is.
Wow. Okay.
And
Nice
nobody
little service.
touches your bag. Like if they leave it outside for hours, it could be outside for 10 hours, outside or your accommodations. Nobody will touch it. You
It's
know,
just the rules of the Camino.
yeah.
Everybody knows the drill.
Well, you hope that nobody steals it, and I have not had any problems like that, and I just expect good things to occur.
Mhm.
Uh, Back in the day, for the ancient pilgrim, it was punishable by death to harm a pilgrim.
Ooh.
That's
Wow.
how, yeah, sacred the journey was for the peregrino.
Okay. Wait, I don't mean to super pause here, but are you getting any feedback when I talk, or does it sound clear?
Yeah, you sound great.
Oh, okay. And
What
here
about
I'm
me?
picking up a lot, and I'm like, okay, just checking. I'll cut that out. Well, all these lessons you're coming up with, I think it's beautiful. How often while you're walking, did you run into somebody? Because there was, I mean, several hours where you didn't. But was it commonplace, or was it usually when you got closer to the towns, or um, and and how do you wander off? Like, because I see there's notations, but does the path get so rough that you all have to figure out which way to go? Like, how'd you get lost?
Okay, those are two good questions. So
Mhm.
there are other routes. Like I've walked the Portuguese route several times, also the Francis route several times, where there's far more resources and indicators. So you have the shell of the pilgrim as well as the yellow arrow.
Mhm.
You can see all these different pylons or signage pointing you. So if you didn't have GPS, a map, or a guidebook, which I like to travel without, I like to wing it, no plans.
That's
Wing it.
yeah.
Just
Wow. Mhm.
show up and befriend uncertainty and see how I handle my rapid adaptation. My own ability. I like to test my own ability in that respect. And the route that I took this time, the northern route, did not have as much indication signage wise.
Okay.
And there were less people, meaning you could always follow somebody and hope that they know where they're going. And typically they do because they have a map, an app, or a guidebook. Unlike me, it's just like, well, I know I'm going west. Okay.
You're like,
So I'm
"Here's the
going west.
sun."
Yeah. I've got the sea on the right and I'm heading west. All right. Good little pilgrim. Okay. Survivalist. However, because there are certain locals that don't like pilgrims. They try to get you confused. They steal the signage or take you in different directions, which
Oh,
happens.
no.
Um, and some areas just don't have very good indicators. So it's easier on the northern route to get lost, especially when you're out in the forest, eucalyptus forest, because there's all these different paths going here and there. You could go hours without seeing a sign, without seeing a yellow arrow. So
Oh,
you're
boy.
and so for me, the one that's unresourced and unplanned, I got off the Camino a few times on this route, and that led to that one day during the torrential rain, which in retrospect, Heidi, was actually a good thing because that day beat up so many pilgrims. They got sick, waterlogged, some of the worst feet I've ever seen coming out of boots because you're just wet all the time. Yeah,
Ouch.
a bunch of pilgrims getting on a bus, and I'm like, good for you. Today's the day to get on a bus, to call, all right, I'm going to trust my instincts, which is another big sub theme on the Camino, is to trust yourself. Do what's right for you. You are choosing your own journey. Just like
Mhm.
life, we are picking our own adventure, designing our own journey. So the hero's journey on the Camino is, you can choose to opt out of some suffering, you know, and
Mhm.
and do it the way that you want to do. And there is a lot of criticism to pilgrims, especially if you're um, public and prominent with sharing your journey, like I do through videos. A lot of criticism comes to pilgrims that may want to take a taxi or a bus. Like,
Mhm.
you're cheating, you're not doing it the hard way. And I say, you know what? I already did it the suffering way 40 days straight, my first pilgrimage. I think that's good for me. And now I'm ready for a little less suffering.
Yeah, you're like, "It's number 7, everybody. I deserve I'm a VIP now."
Wait, so you can just I like this sub theme of non-judgment, not being critical of others. It could be their first one and they decide they want to stay in nice hotels and only do a week and have their bags sent ahead and eat the best food and drink the best wine, and take taxis. I saw pilgrims out there doing that and it was really nice. I'm not going to judge them for it. I'm not going to judge if somebody doesn't make it to Santiago and they have to take a train there. Everybody's doing their own journey.
Mhm.
What I
Mhm.
want to do, and I honor this beyond the Camino, but in life, generally speaking, allow people to be just where they are because we don't know what's going on with someone's sacred journey in life. That's their own
Yeah.
special journey. Why would I want to judge that?
Yeah.
So not just on a pilgrimage, but in life, and just to allow people to be. Because there was one story where I was in my first pilgrimage judging the luxury pilgrim. I was
Mm.
watching this family. They're like this really good-looking family. Their kids were in their like 20s and they had good-looking parents and they had money. Every day I would see them, no backpack, drinking their wine early, staying in the best hotels. And here I am in bed bug bunk beds with stinky, snoring pilgrims, sleep deprivation, trying to find a meal, right? Bed racing because there's not enough beds and too many pilgrims. So I'd see this family every day and they're like, la la la, life is good. And I judged them, Heidi. And in my mind,
Sure, I would.
you are not suffering enough. You're not a real pilgrim. Then I heard their story. Their daughter
Oh.
had in California, their daughter had been crossing a highway by foot, and she had been run over by a semi and killed. So
Oh.
the family
Aw.
was out there with the ashes of the sister and
Oh,
daughter, honoring her, and they were spreading her ashes like in beautiful vineyards, and so that was
wow.
their own personal journey that I got to learn about. Why would I judge them? I don't know what's going on with them. So I find
Oh
this
gosh.
so applicable in life,
Yes.
whether you're a peregrino or not. So many of us do judge others, and
Yeah.
it's this knee-jerk judgment.
Yep.
Whereas, hearing stories like this and remembering, like, ah, I don't know what's going on with somebody. Why do I even want to expend my life, force my energy there? I just want to love people and let them be.
Oh, I'm marking this one. This is a good one. That's huge, Amy, because that resonates with all of human nature. It's embedded in us. And if we just stop and go, we have no idea what their story is, and either take the time to ask
Mhm.
and connect and clear it. Otherwise, getting to that level where you remind yourself, I don't know what their story is, and letting it go. It's huge. I mean, I run into people every day, and myself included, that have to face that and go, check yourself. You have no idea where they're coming from. Even that crabby German fella,
Mhm.
he could have just lost his wife. I don't know.
Something
Something's making him mad.
something is going on with him. I don't know. I didn't take the time to ask him. I actually
That's okay. You felt it. You were like, I
yeah,
gotta
I
find him.
focused my attention on the programs that I really resonated with because I did. There were some amazing relationships that I created in this last journey in just in a day. I met
Oh,
pilgrims that I will remember for the rest of my life, and I feel so grateful and blessed to have met them. And I believe it is like by divine ordinance that we do. We show up for each other as souls just as we need.
mhm, mhm.
And to
And
be
it sounds clear that you are asking and receiving because you're present in that moment. You are being very specific of what it is you do want, and you're being patiently waiting it and paying attention to the signs of what comes. And I think that's where some people can get lost too. And maybe it doesn't take a walk on the Camino. Maybe it just takes them to actually pay attention to the signs. And that's a big lesson, I think, for others as well. Patience. You're going through patience, you're going through, I mean, the lessons on this trip, even though you've done 7 of these now, have they gotten stronger? Have they gotten easier? Is there one specific lesson that you find was so repetitive, or and you're like, "Why does this keep coming up?" I mean, that was a lot of questions at once, but what did these lessons? What was it? You're like, "This again?"
there are quite a few that have come up again for me, and it's expected. Certain
Mhm.
sub themes. One thing that I really like that reinstitutes itself immediately, and I believe so for just about all pilgrims, especially ones that are logging their journey. And a lot of people do like to, send videos and pictures home, or they'll post it on social media, their website. Is that when you get out there, because of the level of suffering, and it's a lot, especially if you're a regular pilgrim, and the weather and the sleep deprivation and everything else that goes in, you lose your vanity immediately. Any chance of caring so much what people think, needing approval of what you look like is out the window, even for some of the most vain people. And here's why, Heidi.
Mhm.
Because when you get out there, it is about surviving the day. You are hyper focused and present in the moment. You've got to get your feet ready in the morning and your legs and get your bag packed and hopefully find some food because sometimes you're walking 10 kilometers with nothing in your belly. Nothing's
Oh
open,
my
and you're blurry eyed and maybe you got bed bug bites or maybe you didn't even sleep all night because the pilgrims next to you were snoring and sick or whatever the case may be. So you go in days without hardly any sleep and you're figuring out, where do I need to go? What's the weather like? And I've walked through snow, hail, sleet, hot weather, and torrential rain. And
Mm.
wind. I have been through it all. So you're dealing with the elements, as well as some people have injuries that they're trying to work through, And so you've got all these things happening at the same time amongst what's going on in your own mental wheelhouse, what you're releasing and working on. And maybe some people are still, working part time. I worked from the Camino as best as I could. I was still working. And
Wow.
so all these things are taking your mind share. So what is not taking your mind share? And sometimes you're running out the door without even looking in the mirror. Just you walking out in the dark and putting on your bag and going is, how good do I look for this
It's the
next
last thing.
video that I'm going to shoot or this live stream that I'm going to shoot that thousands of people are going to see, right? And I remember my first day on this pilgrimage. I had taken a 7-hour bus, so the day started very early for me to get to my beginning station, my beginning city. And I got there. I remember I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have nice hair for this video. Finally, I'm gonna look good on camera. And within 10 minutes into walking, I got dumped on almost the whole
Oh, I
stage.
remember that. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there goes the nice hair. And it was just this reminder for me, Heidi, like, stop caring about what you look like. Focus on coming from your heart, being resourceful, surviving the day. Whatever you want to share in that moment is just going to come out. You don't have time for 50 selfies. Oh, let's
Mhm,
just get
mhm,
it right. You got time for one selfie and one take, and that's it. Because it
mhm.
might start raining again, or a bunch of pilgrims might swamp you, or whatever the case may be. You're having to deal with so many things that even some of the most, I would say, people who care very much about their appearance, they let that go out there. And you're used to seeing all these other pilgrims at their worst. And
Mhm.
it's all okay. Everybody's cool having to drop trowel because there's no bathrooms and there's no trees to hide behind.
That's
Everybody's
right.
just like,
Yeah.
okay, you know,
Keep walking.
you see people that have crazy hair that they haven't, showered in a few days, and they're stinky because they haven't done their laundry. And I saw one lady who felt, because we had so much mud in this Camino, rivers of mud.
Mm.
She had two full black eyes and cuts all over her face. And she walked into my hostel. And I sat there looking at her and started chatting. She was from France. And finally, I felt comfortable. I'm like, I don't think you got punched out at the bar. What happened? You didn't get in a fight somewhere. What happened to you? And she said, well, that day, that big day of rain where we all got swamped out by rain, I fell flat on my face. I hit face first, and it, got all cut up, black eyes. But I wanted to keep walking. So she
Oh,
kept
bless her
walking,
heart.
and she's taking pictures and her videos, and uh, good on you. I think that's awesome that you are moving through what a lot of people would hide from the camera or
Yeah.
hide from others. They're embarrassed. They don't want to be seen looking that way. And I can't speak for all pilgrims, but I would say generally, most people are getting over themselves very quickly with what they look like.
Mm.
It's expected where everyone's at peace and accepting each other. There's no beauty contest. There's no disapproval like, oh, look at you. You haven't showered for 3 days and your clothes are unkempt. And look at your hair and your wrinkles and your sunburn. Nobody cares.
No judgment there.
What
Yeah.
they care about is surviving the day. But I have to say, that has helped me in spades with my storytelling, being okay with what I look on camera no matter what, and not being extremely critical of myself with live streams or videos, even when I'm back in civilization, just think, you know what? I'm going to come from my heart. I want to be real, me, genuine. I have a message to share. And I don't want it to be so clouded with all of this, vanity and meaningless, effort on what I have to look like. This perfectionism that we have in the Western world, right?
Mhm, mhm. Well, you looked great, Amy. Every day. You looked fantastic.
I was happy I didn't have any injuries. Like that to me was winning the day.
Fantastic. Well, it's funny you say that because you got bit and, you had sore, I know, knees, I know your feet hurt once in a while, so you didn't see it as a setback injury. It was part of
No,
the process.
I had a one sore foot that was just from the bag weight and the train.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
It, one sore foot every day, and then I had a few blisters and quite a few cuts on
Yeah.
my feet that I took care of every day. But aside from that, and then the spider bite, I was smooth sailing. And
That's
I saw
awesome.
people out there with hypothermia. I saw people break legs, arms, get sick, fall flat on their face. I mean, it was a tough route this time.
Wow. Well, let's talk about that regenerative stuff. I mean, the part of it, because there's something else. Some of the photos where you did get to dine in luxury almost. The food looked amazing. I'm sure super fresh, local. That those I remember seeing the tomatoes and the bread and your big glasses of orange juice, like the luxury of having that with the food. So we'll talk about that a little, but maybe you want to talk about your device too, because I'm sure that saved you saved you on this walk too. But
Uh, What would you like me to talk about first?
I know. Well, I guess the food. So when you would come into like a good, was it a restaurant or even someone's home or even some of the hosts? Do they provide some of the meals for you?
So when you're out there and on the route that I was at, the northern
Hmm.
route, there's less resources. And so
Hmm.
you're looking for anything that's open. You could walk
Hmm.
all day long in rough terrain and scarcely find a bar cafe open. And you're just looking
Hmm.
for something, even a vending machine where you can just put in a few coins and get something, some sustenance. So the days where I would walk, I could be walking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours and then finally find a little cafe open.
Wow.
I would walk in there and be like, bless you, bless you. And I would look, hopefully they would have the fresh squeezed orange juice. So I didn't have the smoothies, the green smoothies on the Camino like I'm used to having at home, you know? I had to pack in my own vitamins, my own protein powder, everything just to stay healthy because there were so many sick pilgrims. I had to really focus on staying well
Hmm.
and finding protein, so looking for the tortilla, which is the egg, the potato, cheese, sometimes meat. And Spain has the most glorious cheese out of any country. Well, I would say between Spain and France, sheep, goat, and cow.
Okay.
And it
Hmm.
just and cured meat and wine. So these are simple pleasures that just because you have so little resources and they're simple pleasures, they go up, way up in your pleasure because you're so happy and grateful to find them.
Hmm.
I
And you
mean,
feast, so not knowing if you're going to have another one down the road.
the hump, you gotta pack the hump, and sometimes I would stuff my face until I could not eat another bite because I didn't know when I would find my next food.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you'd be so grateful, Heidi, for that luscious tomato that you could bite into, and the tomatoes in Spain are amazing, or a piece of cheese, or cured meat, or gorgeous bottle of wine, cheap, 2, 3 euro. That you pay like 25 bucks here in the United States. Wine is
Wow.
really inexpensive and just so good, and it doesn't have all the glyphosates and
No sulfate probably either.
if you can drink, with a couple bottles with a couple pilgrims, and everybody brings their cheese, their meat, their bread, the vegetables, and you have no headache.
Isn't that
And
awesome?
yeah, so these simple pleasures really heighten the one of the big calls for me to go to Spain and to walk every day is because I know eventually I'm going to find some amazing food, and it is amazing in Spain.
And you're a foodie. So yeah, you
Yeah.
are a foodie. What did you have in your pack? I know you'd find if you could find a grocery, if you could find any food, but what was like your starter? I know the protein powder and the vitamins was the whole journey because it would sustain you at least something. But did you pack bars and nuts and like did you pack things with you or was that gone pretty quick?
So I did bring some food, some nuts, seeds, granola bars, meal bars, that kind of thing. And you know that the pack weight's going to start heavier in the beginning, and then the consumables are going to go down. So the weight will go down, and you can replace that with more food that you purchase along the way. And I started off with a few pieces of clothes, not a lot. I got really tired of my wardrobe out there. You probably got tired of it too. Amy, the same shirt,
It got hard to track the days. Yeah. I was like, wait,
what I had, the same shirt. And you have to wash things by hand, your panties, your socks, your bras. Sometimes at the end of a long day, you've just walked 10, 11 hours, you're beat, you're toast. Oh, no, got a hand wash.
oh,
It's. And so you keep your clothing as minimal as possible and just a few extra things you need, maybe a headlamp. I took my harmonica, which I didn't play a whole lot out there because I learned playing and walking was actually hard because you need
the
all your
breath.
yeah. 7 pounds of my 20-pound bag was in hygiene products.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
There there is my luxury, and I got, criticized a lot online for taking so much weight in that. I did
Hmm.
take my microcurrent device with me, the new microcurrent device for the body, for the lymphatic system and the sore muscles and lactic acid. Now this is because it's new, the first time I was able to take it as an athlete and rehabilitate the legs, the swelling, the inflammation, the sore muscles. the strain. Every day I do pre-treat, post-treat, so that there was some extra bag weight in there because of this device. But I'll tell you what, I was able to keep on going at the rate that I was
Yeah,
uh,
sounds like it's worth it.
for
Yeah.
as long as I did, and I wish I
Mhm.
had it on Kilimanjaro. That would have been great. But so all these things, you choose, you make your choices, and some pilgrims will go as lean as like 7 to 10 pounds total.
Wow.
And then
Mhm.
some pilgrims have got like 40 pounds. So everybody's got to choose. Just
How
like
you
your
travel.
footwear,
Mhm.
there's no right way. Everybody has to choose what's right for them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I get criticized for wearing flip flops. And I say, you know what? There's no one piece of footwear that works for everybody because people's feet, their physiology is so different.
Mhm.
Everyone's got to determine for themselves and figure out what's right for them. Back to why judge someone else's journey, period, in life, whether you're a pilgrim, an adventurer, business person. Just let people have their own. You can learn from them, be inspired from them, even be inspired by someone else's misadventures. Like, oh, geez, man, I'm glad that's not happening to me.
Right.
Like you can be compassionate to someone else's journey and story. And that's what I like about the hero's journey is that, some people will say, oh, I'm not a hero. I say, yeah, you are, because every soul is writing their own story, their own movie or play, however, what metaphor works for you or resonates. And so we are all on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey cycle. We are
Mhm.
the writer, the director, the producer, the star, the casting agent of our story. And I like
Sorry.
I like that because it's very empowering. And we're all here for our journey of transformation. When you start a big Camino or adventure somewhere, you're going to come out the other side changed for life. You are going to come out a different and hopefully better person because of all these trials, tribulations, challenges, life experiences, friends that you meet along the way. That's all part of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey cycle. We
Yep.
start with the separation. We leave the known world, the call to adventure. That's me running out the door like Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit. Hey, Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? I'm going on an adventure. I run toward adventure. I hurl myself into it. Some people refuse the call because their comfort zone is, I don't want to leave the Shire. I don't ever want
Yeah.
to leave the Shire. Me, and like, I'll head to that unknown world, like hurl myself into uncertainty with no problem. Then we move into the second act, which is initiation, and that's where the meat of the story happens. So you make friends, you have mentors, people that are going to help you along the way. This is where the trials and tribulations come in, the challenges, like getting beat up on the Camino, getting
Mhm.
lost, having bad weather, getting hurt, having things stolen, you know?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
you also have that chance to learn about yourself, which I believe is a huge theme of the hero's journey is know thyself and choose how do I want to respond? How do I want to grow from these experiences or misadventures? And then we finally get this big test. We get, the cave, the final cave of testing. Can you face the dragon to get the treasure? And the dragon often is your own ego, your own fear. Can you slay your own dragon of fear, of ego, whatever it is, your comfort zone that's holding you back in life? And then you get the treasure and you return home. So this is now returning home back to your village, your city, your people, your tribe with the treasure, which could be actual treasure. However, usually it is wisdom or some type of superpower that you can come back and share that. And that concludes the cycle of the hero's journey. But there's lots of mini cycles happening in one overarching cycle. And what I love about storytelling, Heidi, is that I'm able to bring that aspect of the hero's journey, the return home, to everyone
Mhm.
in my network or strangers watching on every day through my
Yeah.
videos. What did I learn today? What hardships did I go through? I noticed that some of the videos that have the most amount of followership, some of them have a lot.
Uh-huh.
are the ones that I'm suffering the most in.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm
Maybe most relatable then people are like, "Oh yeah, she's
crying
so."
on camera, or I'm really angry about something and it's visible, or I've just had some huge experience and journey and revelation, and I'm completely vulnerable and exposed and transparent and sharing that. That's what
Mhm.
people seem to really like.
Show me the suffering. But they're like, "Amy's just like me."
Well, but we all have our own challenges and trials in life, and I think there's something refreshing about those who are willing and courageous enough to be like, here it is. I look like crap on camera. I'm crying. I got my sniffly nose and crazy hair and just got robbed and this happened, and all these things.
Mhm.
And you're just like, wow, okay, I can relate in my own way to someone. And I think it's important for the hero of the hero's journey to bleed, so to speak, maybe physically, but at least metaphorically, for others to feel relatable. Like,
Yeah.
so you talked about earlier today, relate to the humanity.
Mhm.
Oh, there's going to be suffering. And I know some people don't want to share it. They're either scared to, it's not in their comfort zone, or they want to, stuck in perfectionism, whether they're on a Camino or not. They want
Mhm.
everything to look so perfect and squeaky clean and nice to get approval from others. However, that's not how life is.
Mm-mm.
Life is gritty and messy, and it has its challenges and its uncertainty. And I dig that. And I dig the people who are courageous enough to show up as vulnerable, in their authenticity of, here I am.
Yeah. And I wanna give a shout out of gratitude, and I never thought I ever would, especially as a mom, but to tech. Like, to be able to go on that journey with you. I mean, clearly you had some Wi-Fi out there. Do you do it all through your phone, or do you have, like, a special little camera, or do you have a microphone? Like, how do you do it? So, because it's so clear, it's so you can hear everything so well, and you're editing. Are you doing it all through your phone?
Thank you so much. Now, what I have noticed, and a lot of pilgrims will agree, is if it's not easy, you're not going to use it. I have
Okay.
taken gimbals for stabilizing, microphones, tripods, and GoPros out there.
Okay.
However, if it's not handy and you have to think about it, it just takes more energy of which you need to apply to survive the day.
Mhm. Okay.
Therefore, for me, what I've chosen to do is I take my iPhone, whatever iteration it is. I have at home on this computer, I have the Adobe Creative, the whole Creative Cloud suite. And then obviously, can't take that with me. I have a very small version of it on my phone, very limited version for editing, video
Mhm.
editing. And so I have that on my phone. I have a small tripod, and I've just chosen to be my own stabilizer. So I've learned through practice to be very stable and to speak into the mic at a certain distance on my phone without wind. So I'm very cognizant of wind
Mhm.
and noise disturbance. There's a little I can edit out of there. But
Mhm.
if you saw me during the day, what's going to happen is I have one shot, usually, which is the opening shot. Another pilgrim will shoot it. I walk into the frame, buen camino, and that's the only thing I know that's going to happen during the day. The rest of it is coming at you as it's coming at me. And I
Awesome.
share sequentially at the end of the day with maybe some insights or an insight video. Oh, I had this revelation or something really good that happened, emotionally. And then I just get on my phone, edit it really quickly because I need the time to relax, to lick my wounds, what's
Mhm.
happening during the day, to spend time with other pilgrims or learn about the culture of a new city that I'm in. All these things that I want that take time. If I don't get that video up and I edit everything on my phone while I'm out there, I'll probably forget about it the next day. So
Mm.
when I for my other pilgrimages, I was teaching a live online workshop while I was out there and
Oh, wow.
shooting the videos. And oh my goodness. But
Twirling those plates.
I'll tell you what, it felt really good at the end of the day because if I survived the day without injury, total win. If I made new friends, learned great lessons. Had a beautiful experience in nature, um, and was able to share several videos and teach the class. Do you know how rewarding and fulfilling that felt at the end of the day?
Oh, I
Wow!
can imagine. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in the past, I've had a challenge with completing projects because it's like, oh, what I want to do more, 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 put more on the plate, right? And
Mhm.
then at the end of the day, there's all these projects, but nothing's getting done.
Mm.
So by doing this and forcing myself, whether it's teaching the class or doing the daily mashup video or insights from the Camino video, I felt so fulfilled and out of completion to survive the day. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm out there walking 11, 12 hours in a day, but still
Yeah.
do these videos. I'm like, wow, I can really do it.
Ah, the empowerment from accomplishing something is it's beautiful. And that's just another lesson you've been able to share. Yeah. I see it as all like layers, like an onion throughout their walk, all these layers coming out of different emotions, different lessons, that you get super raw. Did you ever, this is pretty random, and this is a little woo woo. Did you have one of those spiritual aha moments like you either saw something or you met someone you're like they're not from this world, or did anything appear to you when you least expect it, like, and you had that surrender moment of like, yes, I'm fully connected to source? Like, was it just like a your body, the euphoria of like, okay, I'm in it? Like, I'm sure the whole walk maybe, but did you have any specific moment like that where you're like, oh my gosh, this is for me,
Say revelatory,
yeah.
eureka, revelatory, satori moment, flash of enlightenment, or the revelations. I had
Uh-huh.
them on every pilgrimage, especially the more raw and surrendered I was in the moment to source, to higher self, like asking for synchronicity and then having it show up immediately,
Mm. Mhm.
asking
Like that, yeah.
for answers, asking, give me a sign so blatant that I cannot avoid it or deny that that is from you, source. And these things would come all the time. Or just feeling like this huge, overwhelming wave of peace when I was in a moment of tears. And it's like, I know my angels are with me. And there was this one day on the Camino, my first one, where and I talked about this in some videos. I went through a big fear storm. I started off
Mm.
very early, 2 hour, 2.5 hours before light, on a very treacherous mountain path. No other pilgrims out there. I wanted to win the bed race, meaning get a bed before the other pilgrims too, because they didn't have enough. And I thought, I'll just go walk in the dark. And then as I was out there, I realized how difficult the path was. I could fall and hurt myself, and there was nobody else out there to help me.
Mm.
I had just learned that there were timber wolves out in the woods, and I had felt eyes on me before out in the dark. And I'd also learned that recently there had been an American pilgrim lured off the Camino, and she was brutally murdered in like the
Oh,
worst way possible.
oh, jeez.
And so all these things were coming up in my mind as I was trudging through the dark, and it was so misty and dark. I had my little iPhone light, my headlamp. I didn't replace my battery, so I didn't have that to work. I could see 10 feet in front of me at best.
Oh my goodness.
For 2.5 hours, I'm walking through this thinking, having a fear storm, like the wolves are going to get me, the mass murderer is going to get me, I'm going to fall and break my leg and fall down this mountain. And 2 days ago, they just had a French pilgrim who fell off and died. So it
Oh,
does
jeez.
happen. And this is
Yeah,
real
yeah,
time. It does happen.
yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, I am making this fear storm up in my head right now. None of this is happening. I'm making it up. And so I remember thinking, I'm going to turn the fear off like a button, just release it. And I asked my guardian angels, I said, all right, calling in the big ones here. And I need you to protect me. I really need you to watch out for me. And I had this sensation, overwhelming sensation of peace and calm and courage. And it just came to me like swooping in. And this message came through and it said, You watch your feet, we got your back.
Mm.
And I felt like all the fear was gone, erased. And what I did for 2.5 hours, Heidi, with 10 feet of visibility, was just watch every step and just know that I was going to be okay. And eventually, the fog lifted, the sun came up, and I was fine.
Oh, that was what I meant. Yes, yes, that was beautiful. Oh my gosh, Amy, thank you for taking the world on your adventures. It really is a treat. I mean, I'm never going to say I'm never going to be able to do that because you never know. But for now, there's like this piece of like, I feel like I got to experience some of it. So thank you for that. And not just, well, she's doing all the hard work and I get to watch. It's like your delivery makes us, the viewer, feel it too. Like our feet aren't sore and all that, but we're in our hearts, we're feeling it and we're traveling with you. And it's such a blessing. You've really found your niche. Like this is it. And this is for years now.
Mhm.
Um, do you find yourself, are you going to go back to Spain or what do you think is the next travel for you? I know you're doing a lot of videos and but what's your next few steps?
Next adventure. Well, thank you, by the way, for acknowledging me. And it is my honor and pleasure as well to take people with me and to show up as real and authentically as possible in consistent storytelling. And I love that I've received so many messages over the years from pilgrims all over the world that I don't know tell me, I saw your videos and that's what inspired me to be brave enough to go walk.
Mhm.
A lot of, and so that to me makes my heart feel so happy that I am inspiring all these strangers from around the world to go walk a pilgrimage or to go take an adventure somewhere that they didn't think they could do on their own, but they can. I adventure solo around the world as a female, and I had, for the most part, really great experiences. I've never really had something horrible happen to me. Um, I love the Camino. I think the next time I do it, whenever that is, I'm going to be a luxury pilgrim.
Mm.
I want the nice
Hey,
hotel and the bed, and
yeah.
the best food and wine, and I want to give that route a try and just know what it's like to do it in an easier way and enjoy and suffer
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
Uh, as for my next adventure, I am going to be doing a lot of domestic travel over the next few months, east to west. So starting in the east, and I might come out and see you again, Heidi. So,
Woohoo.
yeah.
We'll
So
get that beach walk in when it's not like windy, like 70 miles an hour wind.
we could even take a picture.
Yes. But that's beautiful. We were talking so much, we didn't take a picture. That's a beautiful thing.
In my house, my sister's house, and we got to talk. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the next adventure, physical adventure happening. Obviously, lots of adventures in filmmaking along the way, and
Mhm.
the next international adventure, I don't know when this is going to happen. However, it could, the next window of opportunity, because it has to do with climbing windows of opportunity in the Himalayas, would be in September, October. As you
Wow.
know, back in March 2020, I was on my way to Kathmandu, Nepal.
Mhm.
Had a month planned in Nepal to climb the Himalayas, a solo trek, Annapurna circuit, and then potentially Everest Base Camp with an expedition after that. And then I had a
Mhm.
year visa to India. So we all know what happened with the pandemic and borders getting closed, and so nobody was really able to travel. And Nepal closed their borders. That happened right as I was about to get on a plane and go there. So that trip is still calling me. I want to see the beauty of Nepal. I want to see its gentle people, food, beauty, and especially the Himalayas. No interest in summiting Everest. However, I would like to get to base camp, which is pretty high up. I think it's like 21,000 feet.
Yeah, that's pretty high up.
I will be taking cameras with me, a proper GoPro, mic, that type of thing, a tripod,
Mhm.
and doing some more professional filmmaking there. So that will be the next adventure that I go on. I believe. Who knows? I'm
Yeah,
open.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Africa calls me, or another part of Asia, or South America. I'm open, and I let the instincts and the gut decide. With what opportunities come my way, and I trust myself. And this is one thing that I have learned particularly from all my world adventure as a solo, traveler, is to trust the instincts.
Yeah.
And that's so key for everyone, Heidi, whether you're an adventurer or your adventure in your own backyard, is to trust yourself, know yourself. And ultimately, and this is the number one theme that I see on every Camino, it's about self-love,
Mm.
the layers of love and to know yourself and appreciating yourself more. And I say that would be the number one theme that I've had on every pilgrimage.
Self-love, getting to the point of, oh, I'm sure once you do that too, you can probably connect easier to the land and the other people, and that's when even the lessons broaden and deepen, and oh, that's beautiful. Where you are right now, I've seen that picture. Is this Bali or Thailand, or
This is
where was
Thailand. This
Thailand?
is the Southern Islands of Thailand. I like it because it's a better backdrop than my home office. And it inspires me to travel again. I've been here to this actual picture, and it's beautiful. So I like to have it there, and it's inspiring for other people too. Like places in the world like this exist truly, and
Mhm.
nature has so much to offer. And there's wonderful places to go visit and see and appreciate. I've seen a lot in Spain. You can see so much when you experience it by walking through a country. All the little villages and the nuances and everything that you see that if you were just to go to the big cities, you're going to miss out on.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's what's so incredible with your walk is the countryside. It was magnificent. It was like a fairy tale.
Yes,
Absolutely beautiful, and, with different terrain all around. It wasn't consistent the whole time, which is exciting.
yes.
That's very cool. And you've been to Spain, so now has Spain been a country you've been to the most? Or is there one you've been to? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so actually, Singapore is my most visited country outside of the United States. I've been to Singapore
Okay.
22 times. However, I have
Wow!
I've lived in Spain off and on for 3 months at a time since I was 24 years old. So it's a country that I'm very comfortable in. I feel resonant. I've had past lives in Spain, so maybe that has something to do with it. That I've revisited through hypnosis. And I love the culture, the food, the scenery, and
Mhm.
really, if someone wants to go on an adventure, I mean, the United States has beautiful hiking trails. You've got the Appalachian Trail, which is harder because you have to trek everything in and camp every day. It's a lot harder. That's a 6 month journey. If they
Wow.
just want to walk for 2 weeks or a month and be supported, every night you have a place to sleep. There's food. Maybe it's not the best, but there's something, and there's other pilgrims out there. You can choose, do I want to walk 10 miles, 20 miles a day? I would say that the Spain and the Camino de Santiago is a really great option for people. And I've seen pilgrims out there as young as 6 years old and as old as 90, 90-year-old old man
Wow!
with a backpack walking the Camino.
Wow! That's cool. I didn't know that. That's really cool. It sounds
Oh,
like something a bucket list right there.
bucket list. And families can take their kiddos. You can choose to do what length of time, if you need to have your bag sent ahead or pick up a bus or a taxi, just do it your own way. I'd say the
Right.
most important thing is to enjoy yourself. Be present,
Right.
enjoy the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Choices too. People like choices in the modern day.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing this adventure. Is there anything you probably didn't cover that you want to share or
I do.
um
I
pardon?
do. I do. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah.
for allowing me to. There's one more thing that I I found a little shocking when I got out to the Camino, which was the amount of criticism and haters that I was getting.
Really?
Considering it
On
before
online?
yeah, online, all social
Wow.
platforms through my website, and I normally get a good deal of that, but this was particularly Camino driven, and some of them were pretty mean. Um,
Jeez.
and it was just coming at me the whole time, and it was reminding me of Jesus, Yeshua, to turn the other cheek, forgive your enemies. So I had a lot of lessons of that out there on the Camino. And St. James, James was one of his apostles, disciple of Jesus. That is, the cathedral of St. James is what people are walking to in hopes of a miracle of redemption or, whatever their religious beliefs are. I'm not religious, so it's not the reason I was out there. However, I do feel the spiritual sense, spiritual and sacred journey out there. And so it was a big lesson for me in being patient and compassionate and not retaliating when it just kept coming at me. I mean, unrelenting and unwarranted. I was doing nothing but showing up, being my best self, being a shining bright light. And then it hasn't stopped since I got home. It's still coming. And yeah, and
What?
so well, I know that you receive quite a bit of, haters,
Sure.
and so when you're public and you're showing up and you're shining bright and having a good, happy light, it attracts those who also want that and are doing
Right.
that, and it also attracts those who probably don't love themselves, that
Right.
even hate themselves, and
You're a
they
threat.
project
Hmm.
all their
Yeah.
pain and suffering on others, whether they're aware or not. This morning, so here's a good way to end today. This morning, I'm used to getting all the hate mail through email, website, social, but in Facebook, that we have these two other mail folders. One is other people trying to reach you, and one
Oh,
is
yeah.
spam.
I gotta check those.
I don't go to my spam very often, Heidi, because
Uh-huh.
I get a lot of guys hitting on me, haters, and even people that have given me death threats. So I kind of like go to that folder very inoften. Like I want to kick the door open and kind of cringe, like, okay, what's
Yeah,
in?
you're like, "Okay, what's in here?" But
Yeah.
you gotta be ready. Okay.
So I did that this morning,
Oh, no.
and I kicked the door open to that spam folder, and there is some mean stuff in there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and I was just like, oh. And then I also noticed there was two messages from two people in Europe, and they wanted to buy the microcurrent device, and I didn't know them. And two new customers this morning on the spot. And I was like,
In the spam folder too, so that you had to go through the muck to get to the goal.
but I was like, you know what? This is the balance of all things. If
Yeah.
you're willing, that to be courageous enough, kick that door open to knowing that there's gonna be haters in there, and they could be slinging some mean stuff at you. I was, and I was okay to let that go, not let it bother me. But by doing so, I was just able to bless two other people's lives. And then I had the blessing as well as two new customers.
Yeah.
And so this morning, I kind of giggled. I was like, I'm glad I took a look. I'm actually really glad. And I don't, the haters are going to come and go. It's not going to stop me from being a bright, shining light. It's not going to stop you. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing because that's what our souls are called here to do.
Yep,
And
yep.
I look at it as, for as many few haters that are mean out there, think about all the people that are supporting you,
Yeah,
that you're
exactly.
encouraging. And that's what I want to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting comical. Like, really? You're upset that she's on her own suffering?
Hey,
Showing you what another part of the world is like?
I
That's bad?
yeah,
But
but
you're not doing it right, Amy.
it's okay. It's a to each their own. Once again, I don't know what people are going through,
Yeah.
people to be. I'm not going to show up and criticize them. So there's my lesson. I'm going to allow people to be, and I'm also not going to let it take my vibration down when I do get the onslaught of haters.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Thank you for the continued lessons over and over.
Compassion, empathy, those will show up, and then just knowing that from a deep sense, innate sense, we're all one. So from oneness, I'm you, you're me, and here is in maybe I'm being your mirror and reflecting you back to you some things that you don't like about yourself. Some of these haters that are so angry within themselves, that's their journey for them to discover themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would I get angry and hateful back? It's just a chance for me to show up like Jesus would, or St. James, or whomever, and be the one who's compassionate.
Yeah. Good on you, Amy. I love it. Well, here I have your YouTube channel here, and we also have your website, Adventures with Amy. Everything's Adventures with Amy, and we know you're on Facebook. You're doing when you do your Facebook lives. Do those go on YouTube as well, or do you upload all your edited product on YouTube?
Thank you
We
for sharing. Yeah, Adventures with Amy. You can find me Instagram, Rumble, My
Okay.
website, YouTube. I'm out
Mhm.
there. I'm actually on quite a few platforms as well,
Mhm.
alternative
Mhm.
ones.
And
Um,
you update them all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they're all
Yeah.
getting updated right now. And the lives, I actually, thanks for the idea, I should start doing them through Rumble and YouTube. What I've been doing is just through Facebook, and then they get
Okay.
put out to all my. I have several Facebook pages: Adventures with Amie, my personal page, my business page, and a group too for people called Create Your Reality. It's on
Mhm.
becoming our own manifester,
Mhm.
super
Mhm.
manifesting and using metaphysics because we all are a metaphysician in our own life, playing with energy. It's
Mhm.
one of my video series, Playing with Energy, which I'm continuing. Got a new one I'm working on right now. It's really good, Heidi.
Awesome. Yay.
What I would say is please stay in touch, everyone. Stay tuned. There are beautiful, high vibrational projects that I'm working on. I'm adding a few more to my ever growing plate. I love it. And this is what you can expect from me is going to be something inspirational, heartwarming, thought provoking. You'll learn something new. Maybe I'll make you laugh. And everything that I create is out there to be of service.
Mm. And it's polished. Like you're good at the film stuff, the editing and cutting and music. Very good at that stuff. So bravo. It's enjoyable to watch. So, yeah. And thank you. You're still sovereign and independent in that sense too. And you're wearing all the hats. Director, actor, you're doing everything, writer. So, thank you for all that you do. And I know as well on your website, you can also get accept donations, tips,
Yeah,
things of that nature because the content you put out is so selfless. So, may the abundance and windfall come your way. So, you
thank I
continue on these adventures.
I always appreciate it. I have for contributions, I like to consider it as we give, we take, we receive, this flow of energy, right?
Right.
Everything is constantly moving
Exchange.
and flowing. So when someone wants to recognize me for what I put out of service and out of joy to
Yeah.
inspire others, whatever it is, I'm happy to receive it. And thank you.
Yay. Okay.
And thank you, Heidi,
Beautiful.
for having me on again. This is so
Oh my gosh.
we could talk
I know.
for hours.
You kidding? It's my absolute pleasure. And I'm just like, I've been writing a couple hits, so I'll have some good cuts.
Beautiful. And thank you for everything that you do too. Your beautiful soul. You put out
Thank
so
you.
much amazing content and inspiration to people. And I want to edify you as well.
Thank you for that. Thank you. You've been inspirational for me. And I'm excited because summer's coming. So I'm just going to be in everybody's face all the time. Live, 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 live. Let's do this, Amy. Let's light this planet up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe. Again, we're selflessly sharing our passions and our skills, and we love the building of community. So, as I sit in my community chat, I mean, hello to the chat. I know this is a recording, but I know you're there, and I can't wait to chat with you all. It is globally connecting. We have friends across the planet that tune in. So thank you for that. Thank you so very much for that. And Amy, keep bouncing that beautiful light all over. I mean, grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
until next time, cheers, and we'll see you very soon.